So one of the things that Lori's inside the Reconologist, kind of the education inside the Teachable, has a really cool kind of 2-week ramp up to getting to your editorial calendar. And so I want to be really like this, what we're going to talk about today is really the same thing. If you follow Lori's steps, and she has checklists and all sorts of amazing spreadsheet, like check sheets and worksheets, you will basically arrive at the exact same place that we're going to talk about kind of through my failure system here. You can take Lori's checklist or you can do the Holly failure system. It doesn't matter. It comes to the same area.
And if you hate checklists, disregard them all in the course.
If you just want to go free form and by the seat of your pants, you'll end up on my side. If you want the checklist, you'll end up on Lori's. It's pretty much how we live our lives.
Yeah.
So that's all in there, and you can see like it is an amazing spreadsheet, like check sheet. She sent it to me the other day, and I was like, oh, that would have been so much easier than what I did, because mine took like 10 years. So basically what we're talking about is the kind of the foundation of your entire business as a blog or a website or whatever, a content promoter, whether that be on Facebook or if you're doing things on TikTok or Pinterest, is an editorial calendar. And what is it? That's a super scary and kind of, it sounds like you're going to be in jail. But the truth is it frees you up to add in creative things, because you know the foundation of what you need to put out into the world is going to go out. And so that's what we're going to talk about. An editorial calendar is just basically getting something published at you want to be published every day or every other day, every 3 days, or whatever that looks like for your blog, on a consistent basis, without you being on that treadmill of, oh crap, what am I going to post today? Or, oh crap, what am I going to post tomorrow? In fact, this is more like, oh, I know exactly what I'm posting. In my case, I know exactly what I'm posting for the next 2 years. And do you know how beautiful that feels in my soul? So let's see. Let me show you how easy it was to get there. So the first thing is to look at really what does an editorial calendar look like? And these are the components of the editorial calendar. You're going to have your expert topics. You're going to decide how often, and by your expert topics, those are those things that what would someone expect to see on your blog for you. Like, if you're a food blog, it's going to look very different than if you're a kids activities blog. And then Holly Homer is going to run her blog different than Lori Turk. And that's what's so beautiful about all of this is that your expert topics, even if you run a site that someone like Google might say, oh, she's just like this site. We all know that's not true, because we all have different strengths and interests and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of the point of the internet. So then we're going to decide our timing, because here, this is your world. You get to choose the rules. You can post once a month. You can post 20 times a day. Like you get to decide. You choose your own adventure on this. And so basically what I want you to kind of think about as you're creating this, and I'm going to show you an example of how I did this poorly, in that I kind of like, oh, in a perfect world, I would love kids activities blog to publish this many times a day. And in my case, it's this many times a day. That is not going to be most of us. In fact, many years ago, when I wasn't 17 years into this, it wasn't many times a day. It was once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week or once a day. So, but now I have people that help me. So my thought process, oh, I want this many a day. So that's what, for me, it's going to be very different than from you. And then we're going to put these layers, and that's where the portal comes in such an easy way to help you make those decisions so that you're not searching. Okay, we've all done this. Oh my gosh, where's that post? I need something today. I need something that is, snowflakes. I need something snowflakey today because it's January. And then you go on this massive search through your blog, trying to find, surely I have something that's going to work. What the beautiful thing about the portal is, it's going to be like, okay, you have 5 snowflake posts, but these 4, let's worry about those next year. Let's push this one out this year because it has the highest ROI. So that's where some of these things. So we're going to layer in what we're going to update, like what we're going to use. And those are the things on that, like schedule post to update. That's always my first layer into my editorial calendar. And because those are the things I know are going to have the highest ROI based on the portal. So, and you get those on the schedule post to update. So for me, I might do one of those a day. For you, you might do, one a week, 3 a week, whatever that looks like. But that's going to go that layer one into the editorial calendar. And then you're going to think about what new things do I want? And then if you have ideas, like you have a list of, oh, these are the things I'm going to do this year, these are the posts I'm going to write, then you're going to go to that list. If you need help, then you're going to go to the new content tips page in the portal, which is going to show you some ideas that fit your blog based on what you've already written and what was successful on your blog. And then you're going to want to bring in the tried and true. You're going to find that stuff on the fill my calendar. Those are things you don't really have to touch. They're just going to push in there to kind of fill in the gaps. So we're going to talk about that more in a second. And then the fourth thing I layer in is the seasonal stuff. And by the way, a lot of that is going to come up in the tried and true because it's based on what was popular the year ago and that kind of stuff. So then this is where you're going to come into where to make these decisions is once you have your expert topics, you're going to rotate those topics so that if I write about parenting, crafts, and food, I don't have 72 food posts in a row. And then I forgot I didn't have any parenting for this month. So any given day, somebody could come to my front page and see exactly what kids' activity is about. Oh, they write food, they have printables, they have coloring pages, they have something funny for parents, they have a parenting article. So all these things just beautifully look like, oh, it's really clear what kids' activities, like I don't even have to tell people my mission statement. Go to my front page. You're going to feel really like it's going to be pretty obvious what I do there. And, and even the feeling, and that's where like, your branding and all this kind of stuff all comes together with that rotating of topics. And then basically you're going to repeat that once a month because we're going to have these things done ahead of time. And I'll show you right now. Okay, here it goes. Perfect. All right. So I wanted to show you, this is a screenshot of Kids Activities Blog 2012 editorial calendar. I went back into deep into my Google Drive. And what is that? 10 years ago. So,
I'm impressed.
So, well, you just hang on because it's really impressive. So basically you can see on the left-hand side, I had day of the week, I had date, and you can see on the left-hand side, we were doing a morning post, and on the right-hand side, we're doing afternoon posts. We were publishing twice a day. And it was glorious for 45 days. And then if you go back into my 2012 editorial calendar, literally the rest of the year is blank. So I survived this for 45 days. So I had 45 days of blissful organization and 320 days of feeling like a failure because I couldn't keep it up. And so why was this so hard for me at this point to keep up? And when I look at it, I see it's not necessarily how it's organized or anything like that. There's a lot of things on this editorial calendar that I don't need. Like when you're first getting started, you really want to do like kind of the quick and dirty. Like just do what do I need to get this accomplished? Because this is just way more than my brain could handle at this time. Like it's great that I had the categories and all this kind of stuff, but it's not information I was using that day to get ahead. And then you can see I have no feedback. Like I don't have is it done? Or, is it done ahead of time? Who's going to do it? Like, because I had some people that were helping me out at this time. So it's a plan, but it's kind of, I would say it's a plan that you might read in a book, not necessarily like on a worksheet and take action on. So you want to think about your editorial calendar as an interactive thing versus something that you're like, oh, that's so pretty, because that's so pretty lasts, in my experience, 45 days. I don't know why this is a thing. Okay, so let's look at the next. So basically in my Google, I know I had an editorial calendar. It just wasn't in my Google Drive. So the next one was basically the first generation of what I use today. And this was, I started this in 2020, so 2 years ago. And this was the first draft of this beautiful new system. You can see I'm using the portal, and at that time it was just an audit. And so I have all these big plans. I am going to publish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things a day. It's going to be glorious. So let's see how that worked. Well, the results of that was 15 days of feeling like I could never catch up, even if I worked 24/7, because I had bit off way more than I kind of chew. And then I was mad and cried. So it was too much. And the crazy thing is it was just too much because my skill level and my speed at doing these things was not up to the level of biting off this amount of work, even though I had people that could help me. Because like we all know this, when we start learning something, it's hard to teach it until we've mastered it a little bit. And then so it's kind of your baby for a little while before you can hand it off. So what happened next is instead of I did learn something. Instead of 2012, where I just gave up and didn't go back to it, I redid it. So I redid it. So this you can see behind here is the old one. So where I was having it, and you can see the new one, and this is the exact same month, was cut in more than half. So I went back to just doing 3 posts a day, and you can see several of those are things that we've already done before, or we already published it before, so they don't even need updating. And you can see I have several, like I'm only doing like 1 thing a day, and that's as much as I could do at that point, because I hadn't mastered like what we were all doing, let alone myself. So I cut it by more than half, and then I kept it that way until we could get 2 weeks ahead. And then we slowly added things while I was still ahead. And that's kind of the key to staying off that treadmill, because you're going to have things that you have to do to keep your business going while you're inserting this new skill set. And so it's really important to think about, what can I pause while I learn this, and then keep going. And then once you get ahead and have that buffer, so you're not stressed out and thinking that, oh my gosh, I can't do everything today. You don't feel that way. You're like, oh, I can't get everything done for 2 weeks from now. Like your brain doesn't even think that way. So this was the old, this is the new. And then, so this was, 2020. And then,
Can I just pop in here and say, this is why I love Asana, because when I do get overwhelmed, I can grab something and move it. It's just simple to drop and drag it someplace else.
And we're going to get to Asana in a second, because some of you are not spreadsheet people, but I will say, if I get overwhelmed, I just move it and I just delete it or move it in a line. I move the whole line, so it's not even on that thing anymore. And I'm going, okay. So this is what that same like thing it looks like today. So this is January 2022. And guess what? I have a copy of this 12 months of editorial calendar for 2023 as well. And so what's happening is I'm easily staying ahead by 2 weeks with as many or more posts than that failure in 2020, because we have a system in place. And we have mastery, like what used to take me 2 hours is now taking me 10 or 15 minutes. Or I have a video to show someone else how to do it, and I could just assign it. So that these things, all that hard work of getting to the point where I got to a kind of a stasis of what made sense for Kids Activities Blog within the time frame I had, my work hours, the help I had, and the skill set. I think that's the one thing that we often forget is, do we have the skill set? Because if we don't have that skill set, it's going to take way more time than we probably set aside for it. So now with this in place, it frees my time to work on larger projects and actual strategy. So that first year was kind of like getting the blog to a point where I could feel like, oh my gosh, we're right here. And then after that is now we have time for strategy and that kind of stuff. So this is one of the things, and I'll give you guys the link to this. This is an example of an editorial calendar that if you want to use a spreadsheet type editorial calendar, or if you want to use a paper editorial calendar, this is something that you might use to look and see what you might use on this list, and then eliminate the columns that you wouldn't use, and then adapt it for your own use. And so you can see I run my categories down like in rotation. On the days that I'm not going to publish anything, I might just leave blank, because then you could all go back and add something if you wanted to, or move something into that space. Then I have columns for, is it a new post? Is it something I'm going to update? If it's something I'm going to update, I'm going to put the priority number in there. Any new notes like, oh, this needs new images, or this needs a new pin, or this, I'm just going to tweak this or that. Because when you create this editorial calendar for the month, you're going to be looking at a lot of this stuff. So write down what your thoughts are at that time, so you don't have to go back and rethink those things. And then like who, so if there's somebody on your team that could do that for you, or you could delegate it, then do that. Some of you who don't have a team won't have that column. And then, is it ready? Like, is it ready now? So when you put it into that line, is it ready to go right now? Put that X in there. Or do you need to take some action on it before you push it forward? And then I put the URL once it's published. Or if it's an update, I'll put the URL in there because I'll know, so I know where it is. And then on the other side, I have notes for the future. So next time I touch this, what do I want to talk about? Like, what would my next step be? So I don't have to like come back and go, oh, I know I was going to do something here, but I have no idea what it is. So then at the bottom here, you can see the layers that we were talking about: the old post update, the new content, the tried and true, and then where you can find it. And then the holiday and seasonal. And then number 5 is kind of what we were talking about earlier, is what about those things that you want to do that didn't fit into the calendar? That's when you're going to either put it on a future date, because you'll have these, you'll have another page in your book, or you'll have another spreadsheet for the next month. You can put it on the next month already in one of the spots. Or if you don't have all those things set up yet, is you could just put a to-do list of, here's the things that I want to add to my editorial calendar in the future. And then it gets it off your brain. And like we've always talked about, if you're going to quit blogging this year, that would be a problem because you wouldn't get to everything. But if this is a long-term plan for you, then you're going to have more time and energy and knowledge and skill and team members next year or the next year to tackle it a lot easier. So start as simple as possible. Only add what you need when you need it. Start at half speed or lower to where you want to achieve. And it's okay to start at 1/10 speed, because the point is just to start that consistency and then delegate when able. All right, so then Lori will talk a little bit about the Asana side.
I have a couple different kinds of clients. I have clients that are just starting out in this process, not starting out in the blogging process, but in, creating some sort of organizational system for their content specifically. And then I have those of you who are like, Airtable gurus, and they're like, okay, Lori, this is great, but what else? Like, what else? So the advanced editorial calendar kind of takes things to the next level. And again, these are what I love how Holly calls them layers. You can layer in what you want to and ignore what you don't want to. But in the portal, we have all kinds of amazing options. So as far as old content goes, you have the schedule post to update portal page, which should be definitely your go-to. And then I've also created with Holly the second update alert page. Now that page is a little bit, we're still kind of beta testing that, but the idea is that once you've updated it once from the schedule post to update, it will then be triggered into the second update. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help you make those decisions for you and kind of alert you to that. Then one of the things that I really am passionate about, because maybe it's probably because this is how I made my bread and butter in the beginning, is your seasonal content. And in the portal course, there is a seasonal content. Well, in the new portal, there's actually a portal page for seasonal content, and you can pick the month, and then it will show you all of, not every single topic imaginable, but the important topics that are actually trending for that month. And I did put a lot of SEO type topics in there. So it's not going to be something that you're typically used to seeing. There's the wacky days that are basically just ideas of topics that are happening that month. And you'll actually use that page in two different ways. You can use it for what's happening now, and then you can also prep your content for what's happening in 2 months from now. And I can't stress enough that this, if you are not currently doing seasonal content, this can be a huge money maker, huge money maker. And there's more that we'll get into later, but that is what I'm most excited about. And then we also have identify your money posts for those advanced people out there who already have an editorial calendar. You're kind of already, the wheels are already going, and you're like, okay, I'm really ready to make sure that I have my high RPM posts are in there. I really want to make sure that I have an affiliate. I'm promoting something once a week that literally puts cash in my bank. And then there's a bunch of other fun things. I've made a little checklist so that you can keep track of that. And you'll definitely want to put those into your track my progress spreadsheet so that you don't forget about those and that they can get on your calendar routinely. We've already talked about the new content tips. And then the last one are the 2 tried and trues, the fill in my calendar, which is on the basic editorial calendar. And then this is Holly's idea. We created a new portal page called the All-Star Content. And I can't say it as well as Holly does. What do you call it? It's the content that if you needed to make, increase your page views.
Yeah. So like every day when you're like, crap, I just need a few more page views to my blog, that is the first place to go, because that is the stuff that you have, has paid for you in the past and will continue to pay you forward if you remember it. A lot of times you're like, oh crap, I totally forgot about it.
Yeah. And so as you're moving forward, if you make sure you have one of those, every week or so, then that's just gonna, create your momentum higher and higher and higher. And it's one of the, the secrets that I think that we just forget about and take for granted because it's working in the background. But those do need to be promoted and get put back in the system. So that's kind of the difference between, a basic and then a more advanced editorial calendar.
Why don't you explain a little bit about how Asana differs a little bit than what we talked about here for those who are not using it and who might want to consider it?
Yeah, so I used Asana for Tip Junkie. Now, when I had my big team, I used a spreadsheet. It was just so much easier. It's very similar to Holly's current system. However, when I retired and then from creating new content, and I only had, an assistant or 2, and I wasn't in there every day, Asana really was a game changer for me, mainly because I use the comments a lot. So when I make decisions, or when I create a new pin image, or when I have to download a stock image, I put that in, I have one URL for each task in Asana, and I put all the decisions I've made in that one URL. And so what's different between Asana and a spreadsheet is that the Asana will give you notifications. And so it's something that will alert me on my phone if I'm not in it every single day. The other thing that I love about it is kind of what we've already talked about, is that if I am a little overwhelmed this week, I can literally just drag and drop things to where I need them. And I love the calendar view, because the calendar view is so nice. I have everything coordinated with your expert topics, and I teach you how to do that in the course. And that way I can just see really quickly of where the holes are and what, how my categories are from a reader's perspective. And so it's just a little bit more live and intuitive with the prompts. It also works nice if you only have like one part-time employee, because you can preload everything in there, ask your questions in the comments, tag them, and then they will, when they answer, it alerts you. So it really can be a communication cadence as well as a content manager. But it is the negatives are that if you are overwhelmed by notifications, then that's something that you need to be aware of. And it's totally okay to just move things out and to clear up your schedule. So like what Holly was saying, so you start out slow and steady, because consistency is how you win any algorithm game, whether it's Pinterest or Facebook or anything online. It has to do with consistency. So you want to don't set yourself up to fail, set yourself up to succeed. Oh, and the other thing I love about Asana, really quick, sorry, Holly, is in Holly's system, you'll have the same URL in multiple different places, where in Asana, you will have one URL for one task. And so everything that you do for that URL is right there. And then you use the subtasks for updating your calendar or for a social calendar. And this way you can quickly see, oh my gosh, I haven't promoted this post in 4 months and it's not showing up on the portal because, maybe you skipped the day where the 7 days of social page. That's kind of where all of the URLs get back into the content system. So any URLs that aren't in the portal system, you could see on Asana of, oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything with this URL. Why do I want to? So that's the main difference.
And you can use Asana with a team really well too, because you can pass tasks. So once you finish your part of the task, you assign it to the next person down the line, and then it pops up on their calendar and they can do it and pass it to the next one. And you can get the notifications when everybody's done their thing if you want or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you can use it with a full team too, if you want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's like there's some brains that are going to fit really well with Asana, and like the calendar. Like if you're a calendar person, I think Asana is amazing. If you're not a calendar, like if calendars make you want to throw up like me, then you're going to be better off with something simpler, because I was just overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
Even today. So, but I do see my spreadsheet eventually going into more of an Airtable system that would act more like that, so that I see the value of having one URL attached to all your actions. I'm just not there yet. I don't have the mastery to be able to move my system into that without just breaking everything else that's happening. And I think that's something to think about. You can do this on a piece of paper and a pencil today. Like you don't need any of these tools. Like you can do it on a piece of paper. And if that's what it takes to actually take action and get it started, that's what we want to do. And then support you as you gain mastery into learning these different systems and finding the best fit for you.
Yeah. I would really highly stress just knowing yourself and admitting your weaknesses and focusing on your strengths. And that's how you win. And
don't be afraid to change if you find out that what you're using isn't working for you. I tried 12 things until Asana just clicked for me. So yeah, you can switch if you need to.
Yeah. And I like what you said there, Diane, because like what I did for a while to make sure that Asana wasn't for me is I ran it parallel with what I was doing at that point for a little while to see how everything works. Because you're not going to be able to tell a tool from just, a day or, 20 minutes of poking around in it, so these are the things and then also if you have a friend that is doing something and you guys are a lot alike, try that too. And there's other systems besides, spreadsheets and paper and Airtable like that. Like if you already I used to use Trello. Trello made more sense to me. It's more like a spreadsheet than like Asana, which things disappear and go behind the scene. I think I don't like it when things go away. I want to be able to see where they went. I guess I'm just nervous. So I like Trello because that was more of a physical, I take this 3x5 card and I move it to this thing, So if you like, if Asana is overwhelming to you, Trello is kind of like the baby step to Asana, and that might be a better choice for you. It's very simple to learn really quickly too. So that's another option that we haven't even talked about.
Well, and I don't know if Leslie's on here, but one of my clients even has Post-it notes on a big wall calendar.
That's
so
my stuff.
literally, see, whatever you like, do that.
All right. Does anybody have any questions specifically about the editorial calendar? And then we'll hop into
yes.
some of these other questions.
Really quick, Holly, it was,
oh, Cassie says she did paper last year and she's going to an Excel spreadsheet this year. I love that, Cassie.
yeah.
Baby steps, girl.
Yeah. Andy said, is there a preferred ratio in the eyes of Google of updated posts to new posts?
Okay, when you're starting out, Google doesn't care. And when you're starting out, it's more about you being consistent in some way. So so whatever it takes to be consistent. And like, if you have, like, let's say you've batched a whole bunch of new content and you have 12 new posts to do that. What I would do is look at your editorial calendar and space those out, putting in some updated content in between. Because what I think has worked really well for a lot of us is a mix. I think the updating my content has been boosted because I have new content appearing regularly, but at the beginning, I couldn't do both. So I was just updating old content. And you know what? It was the first step to building what is now a point where I have new content in some of my verticals, like my printables, scheduled through July and August of this year. So that's kind of what we're working towards. Is it doesn't matter what that looks like today, just take a little bit of action, because it's going to build to something you can't even imagine. Like, if you would have told me 18 months ago that I would be 6 or 7 months ahead on new content, I would have laughed you off the face of the earth, like laughed you, because I couldn't even imagine a world where that was ever possible. And that's what's so important about just getting started on this, because what you will learn from what you're going to master over the next few months will take you in a direction that you never even thought possible. But I would say in the end, like what I try to generally, I don't know that Google cares, but I try to do something new every day, and I've started to do updates every day. So, but I'm not worried if it's just one new and 4 updates, or it's just like, if I'm going to be publishing a whole bunch of updates, I like to have it throw a new one in there.
Well, and always keep your readers in mind too. Like, if they're used to having new content for you every Thursday, keep that schedule, because they are really our bread and butter. We want to keep them happy, because there's other ways on the back end you can make Google happy.
Yeah. Unless you have like 13,000 blog posts, they don't know. They don't know.
So like, Lori, you don't post live or new content anymore, right?
No, I haven't.
So
I think there's been like 1 or 2 here and there that when I was training a new assistant. But no.
So you don't feel like you've lost anything from, I went about 8 months without, I'm just now beginning, now that I'm adding back in new posts as I've added things slowly back in.
So Tip Junkie went 6 years without adding anything, and it still pays my bills.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that kind of goes back to that question.
I've gone a whole year without doing it. But I think once you've delved into updating a certain percentage of your content, that you kind of your core content that you really like, okay, I'm really comfortable. That's my foundation content. Like, I'd be fine if I didn't update anything else. This is really kind of what my blog's all about. Because you have to remember, I don't know what it is. You'd know better, Lori, but like I would say on Kids Activities blog, probably 98% of the traffic comes to 2% of the content.
On everybody's blog, yeah.
Yeah. So like we could update 98% of the content, but at what cost? So once we get that buffer of what we know Google likes, then we can start. And I know there's certain topics that if I write something new in that topic, just because I've been playing this game for a while, if I write something new in that topic, it's going to hit a lot better than if I update an old one. And that's just something you'll gather over time. But to get to that point where you know that, you're going to have to do both. But that's the long game. Because here again, we're not quitting this year. We're going to keep going. And whatever we do this year will be like the foundation of our next year.
Yeah, and just there's comments coming in. Yeah, I have a lot of clients that use ClickUp. In fact, I need to get y'all together in like a little group or something. So if you want to leave a comment here in the Zoom chat of what you use, and if you're open then to me letting people know that, then we can kind of, you know, merge you guys together, and you guys can decide if you want to, strategize or not. Okay, so one of the questions, there's two more Asana questions I just want to cover really quick, is on the month template, will I create a task for January and then reuse that every year, or that will I create a January 2022 and a January 2023? And the idea with everything with Asana, like the whole point of using Asana, is that there's one task for one URL and one task for 1 month. That way you're not replicating this insane beast, you know, and you're having, the idea is that when you search in Asana for January, you get one result that comes up. And
the other thing I might want to mention, because Lori and Asana, you kind of combine your editorial calendar with your social calendar all within one place.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why Asana is a little overwhelming for me, is because I run those separately. So I have a separate editorial calendar for each of my social channels that we publish regularly on. And so I treat those just like my editorial calendar. And you know, if you're not posting a million times a day, then Asana is going to be a lot better for that, because you can put it all in one place.
Yeah. And then the second question was do I need to have one URL per task in Asana? And the answer is yes. And I actually did a video in that. There's a video in the course that shows you like step-by-step how and why and the pitfalls and all of that. So check that out if you need to. And you'll use the subtasks in Asana to move it over to your social calendar or to move it into your update calendar. And you'll really use the subtasks for dates as well. So what I do is I use the subtask of, you know, check it in a month, check it in a year. I can add, you know, anyone I want to it, and it makes it really kind of clean.